Hello everyone, I am Angel Giraldes. I work in Vallejo Fantasy Department. On today's video I'm going to explain how to paint an orc. I will use this set. I hope you like this video.
The Orcs and Goblins set includes 8 colors. As you can see, there are green tones, a violet, and a red color to add tones. It also includes a guide where I explain how to paint orc skin. So, if you like to paint orcs, this set is perfect. First step is to prime the miniature. I use a mixed technique of black primer and then 3 or 4 coats of gray primer. Now I will put all of the colors on the wet palette. I will add heavy black green, sick green, and goblin green. Very important to shake the colors well. I will also add a bit of matte medium, since the game color range tends to be a little glossy. So if we add this matte medium, we will get matte colors. I recommend you use an old brush to apply this medium and to get a good mix. Just 3 or 4 drops of medium are enough. Now I will apply the base color with heavy black green. It's very important that it covers the whole surface. Apply the paint and move it.
Evolutionary process going on, but mankind won't be destroyed. The fact
And here you can see the final result.
is evidence of that
Step number 2, and now I will use sick green to apply the first highlights. Look closely at the box how I load the paint. A small amount. I rest it on the surface and then I move it to blend with the previous color. If you find it too difficult or you are beginners, I recommend that you use a mixture of these colors, sick green and heavy black green. This way, it'll be much easier to add the first highlights and achieve a good blend. If you are experts, you can use sick green directly. Now I am applying the main volumes. I focus on the pecs, the abs, the lateral ribs, because this orc has well-defined musculature, and it will be very easy for you to paint it. Because the upper areas are where lights must be applied, shadows are placed in recesses and deeper parts, but with some nuances which I will explain later. Something very important when painting. I apply a thin layer, let it dry, and then repeat. This way you will achieve a good blend and a perfect finish. And the more layers you add to the same area, the stronger the color becomes. For example, I apply a layer to the chest, let it dry, and then reapply another layer. This way, the color becomes more intense and the highlights will be more noticeable. One thing to keep in mind is to highlight the center of the pectoral, the sunken area. Notice the pec's volumes are defined. Then the recessed part is, like, in shadow, and the middle is highlighted. This way, we are going to mark the lighting on the chest a lot. The same on the abs. We highlight the middle part as well to increase luminosity. Notice in the box how I combine sick green with heavy black green. If the brushstroke is very noticeable, I take very diluted heavy black green and apply it to blend it. I am highlighting the upper part of the muscle. So I create a contrast between lights and shadows. Less highlights are applied on the lower areas. The same on the arm. I highlight biceps and triceps, applying thin layers, letting them dry, and then repeating again, leaving the lower parts in shadow. And here you can see the final result of step 2. Step number 3, and now I will add goblin green to apply the second highlights. Always pay close attention to the box, so you can see how much paint I load onto the brush. The second highlight is applied to the same areas as in the previous step, but reducing the area to be highlighted. If we were highlighting a bigger area in the previous step, now we are going to reduce that. This way, we'll mark the muscular tension a bit more and achieve more luminosity. I am working with a scale of greens, from the darkest and highlighting it little by little. Green contains yellow, which adds luminosity. What if we used white to highlight? It doesn't create light, it desaturates. We would get a very desaturated green, without strength, with zero power. So, write it down. When painting green, we have to use a yellow color to enhance it. I'll also remind you, if you are new or find it difficult to paint the second highlight with goblin green, no worries. You can add a bit of sick green, make a mixture, and use that. So, you are going to get perfect blends. Look at these lateral muscles where I'm highlighting the upper areas to mark those volumes well. And little by little, the highlights are noticeable. I am focusing especially on the pecs, the abs. Notice the upper part of the face as well, above the mouth. Here I put a strong brush stroke. I'm looking for contrast. I'm looking for contrast between lights and shadows. I also highlight the upper pecs a bit more. the shoulder. And I go slowly, there's no rush. As you can see, the paint is very thin. If we apply a very thick paint, all the brushstrokes will be noticeable. And here, you can see the final result of step 3. Fourth step, I will use cadmium skin to continue highlighting. I shake the bottle up well and add it to the wet palette. I will mix it with goblin green. This color is perfect to continue highlighting since it contains yellow. By the way, I will add scarlet blood to the palette as well since I will use it to apply tones and paint the scars. I add livery green too, which is one of my favorite colors. It's super saturated, contains a lot of yellow, and adds a lot of luminosity. It's perfect. Well, I will add some matte medium too, to get a more matte finish. A couple of drops is enough. And when you mix, always use an old brush. I've added the matte medium, and now I'm going to highlight. But be careful, this mixture must be applied in an even more reduced area. Take a good look at where I'm applying it, on the edge of the scar. Right at the top of the muscles. If we apply it in too large of an area, we will lose the green tone of the skin. This highlight must be applied in a smaller area. I also take advantage now to paint the inner part of the scar. As you can see, I use a mixture of cadmium skin and scarlet blood. I also paint the inside of the ear. This way, I get some different tones on the orc skin. We can also paint the veins with this color. Notice they are very fine layers to mark it. Don't worry if it's too abrupt. We will glaze it to blend it with the skin later. With a couple layers of green, it is enough to blend it and get a perfect result. I also paint the nipples in this color. To make them stand out. And I keep highlighting the skin with a mixture of goblin green, cadmium skin, and livery green. An important part when highlighting is the face. Look where I highlight it. Upper area. I want this part to stand out a lot, and so that's where I apply this strong highlight. Then with red, I repaint the inside of the scars to give it this tone. And now it's time to play with all of the colors on the palette. If we see that it needs a better finish, take a little heavy black green and apply a glaze. We play with the colors. In this step, we have to look for what the bust needs. If it needs more luminosity, then we highlight it more. This step is crucial, and we have to spend time on it. Highlighting all the muscles well is very important. Observe the abs, where I highlight them, right in the middle to emphasize it more, which is an important part of the main view of this bust. So, we have to highlight this view a bit more. The side muscles. I will highlight it, but just some little touches, just to make some muscles stand out more. Notice that the lower muscles are darker, and the upper ones are highlighted more. This way we create contrast between lights and shadows, and we get some beautiful volumes and contrast. You also have to spend some time on the face, which is a very important part. It will gain more relevance by adding this red tone to the scars. I also add a strong highlight in the mouth, which will help us to increase contrast as well. Very important, going little by little. We are not in a hurry, and if we go slowly, we will get good results. Also, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Notice this part of the process is just to add soft touches, to emphasize more. With just a few touches, the highlights are more noticeable. It's not necessary to paint the whole surface. With a few soft touches, we will achieve the desired result. And here you can see the result of step 4. We are almost done with this bust. Step number 5. It's time to apply shadows. I will use Royal Purple. I shake the bottle well and put it on the wet palette. I'm going to add a few drops of matte medium since game color is somewhat satin. And by using matte medium, I will get a matte color. I'll also make a mixture of this purple and heavy green. Look closely in the box, and I will combine both mixtures. Well, purple color with green to shade. I shade under the face. In the jaw. To find contrast and also get good definition. It's an area with a lot of shadows, so we have to apply this mixture. I will add a little scarlet blood, too. And so what do I get? Well, temperature contrast. Red contrasts perfectly with green. And also, we will add tones to the skin. Notice that the paint is very diluted. I spread it to add nuances to the orc skin. If you add too much red, the result will be weird. Diluted paint, and we add little touches to add the desired tone to this orc skin. Notice I am shading the lateral musculature. And notice I'm not applying these tones right in the middle of the chest or on the abs. Because I want a strong contrast. The chest and abs have a lot of yellow, and on the sides I use more purple, since it is a cold color and adds depth. I also keep marking the scars. This orc shaman has fought a lot of battles. I also take the opportunity to mark the highlights a little more, right where the scars are, on the edges. For this reason, it is important to use a wet palette. The colors always stay fresh, so if you're shading and notice, for example, here I have to highlight a bit more, then you can highlight it, since the colors are always fresh on a wet palette. We are about to finish this bust. And I would like to get your feedback, so any comments would help me a lot to improve and continue recording useful videos for the whole community. I'm already on the final details: scars, cheekbones. Highlighting the nose a bit more is also important. The veins. And here you can see the final result of step 5. This step is not mandatory, it's just if you want to add a little something extra to the skin. I will use blue-green and Italian Tank Crew highlight from the Panzer Aces range. I use these two colors to enhance the tones of the orc skin a bit more and enforce a cold color. Just on one arm, the one with the stick. Since it is a shaman, this orc will have magical powers, and this touch will be amazing. As you can see, I apply a glaze to add a different tone to the arm. And with this desaturated green and a little blue-green, I will highlight this arm a bit. You can see that the pecs and abs contain a lot of yellow in the highlights, but I am cooling down the arm. Not too much, but you can see the change in intensity. Remember that this step is not necessary, it's just if you want to add a different touch to your orc skin. And it's that easy. With just a few glazes, the intensity of the arm changes. It's getting colder. It has a cold green touch. And if you want to cool it down a bit more, we can add purple or blue. I just want to reduce the intensity a little to get contrast with the face, pecs, and abs. And it's super simple.
Romantic, isn't it? Shut up and sit down.
And here you can see the final result. The bust is finished, and we only need to finish the rest of the mini.
If you have any question, comment below. Share it with your friend and see you next video.